recently something really important happened. I officially became a British citizen. I've been living here since the age of 9, which means that I've been in the UK for 14 years. I have gone through primary school, secondary school, A-level and now university as well. It has always been a dream of mine to become a British citizen, as I felt like I was sort of stuck in the middle in terms of my nationality. I do remember my years in Hungary very fondly, and I do associate myself with the country as I did spend the first 9 years of my life there, and I do visit as often as I can. However, given the education that I've gone through, the lifestyle that I have picked up, and spending 99% of my life in England, I felt like there was something missing. I have been searching for the method and the route to become a British citizen for years now. However, it isn't a cheap or simple route to take, hence why I was so proud and relieved when I received a letter through the door to say it has been approved. My decision was not motivated by the current situation in the country with regards to Brexit. However, when I did go through for my ceremony and the people that I have met, it seems that more and more people are going down this route because they are afraid of their status in the country. So I just wanted to explain to you guys my experience and the way I did my British citizenship. There isn't different routes, everyone has the same, and as of December 2019, these are the current facts and the current procedure for you to become a British citizen. I have my lovely little folder that I have organised to put all my relevant documents in here that I need for this process, and I'm really glad that I created this, because all throughout the years that I was really trying to make this happen, I have stored all the documents here that later on became very useful to me. Now, I wish I would have dated this, because this was my initial start to the whole process. I have the whole document printed out, and I made little notes along the side and to-do lists as to what I need to have this completed. There are 3 main steps to take when applying for your British citizenship. First of all, you need to take an English language test unless you have a degree that you have completed in English and you do have the certificate to say so. Now, at the time when I started my process, I have not yet completed my degree, and because I wanted to get this done as soon as possible, I have actually gone for a level B1 English language exam, which consisted of a 10-minute conversation with another person around topics that you have completed on a sheet. So on the website that you book your English language test with, they make you print out a little sheet, little spider diagram, where you would put a main topic, and you would have about, I believe, maybe 6 branches, 4 to 6 branches of different topics, and this is a topic that you choose to talk about. They will ask you questions surrounding that topic, and it is a very simple conversation to have. That's the first 5 minutes. The next 5 minutes is questions around topics they have chosen. So on the website also it states the possible topics that they might ask you about. My topic was transport, and it was a very simple 5-minute conversation, question and answers, such as, do I drive? How do I get to work? And simple things like that, that for me is very simple to answer. Everyone has to go through the same procedure. And I completed that. I passed the exam, as it was a very simple 10-minute conversation that I believe is very easily done. It is not overly complicated, and they're really trying to help you the best to pass the exam. There is no tricks, no complicated questions, very simple. That test cost me £250, and I had to, it's an IELTS test. That is the official title of it. And you can book it to any centre that's most convenient to you, depending on the appointments available. So I wanted mine done as soon as possible, so I chose to go to one in London, and I made the commute. For £250, knowing later on that I couldn't get my citizenship application done before I graduated was a little bit annoying, but at least I have had the experience and I'm able to share it with everyone else as to what the requirements are for a test like that. So in that way, I'm very thankful that I was able to obviously get that test done. However, I am a little bit annoyed because a couple months later, obviously, I received my graduation, my degree certificate in the post, and I could have avoided this whole situation. On the day of your language exam, you will not receive your certificate if you have passed. The only thing they will give you is this piece of paper. This piece of paper is essentially your initial proof that you have passed the test. It will grade you from A to D and write pass. They will check your documents and the examiner will sign your sheets. A couple days later, you will receive the actual certificate in the post, and this is your official document to show that you have passed the language exam, given that you don't have a degree that was done in English. And just to clarify, you only need a level B1 for the English language exam. So technically having a degree in English is a much higher language requirement than a B1, because given the requirements to pass a B1, having a 10-minute conversation about simple things like commute, like transport or family, where you live, I feel like that is very basic and very doable for most people who have actually lived in the UK for 5 years. Next, you need to complete a life in a UK test. This test costs £50 and you can book this through the government's website. Once you book it, it prompts you to choose a centre near you, a test centre, and essentially it consists of multiple choice questionnaires regarding life in general in the UK. So it asks you a little bit about its history, its cultures, its traditions, literature, art and things like that. However, one thing that really helped me is doing practice tests online. So there are numerous websites available which helps you prep for the test, and it consists of 24 multiple choice questionnaires and the pass mark is 18. So once you sort of get a good average through those practice tests, obviously I felt like I was more confident to try the test in real life, and I have successfully passed it. With regards to the Life in a UK test, the only formal piece of paper you will receive and you need to keep as safely as possible is this. This is what you will get on the day for of the test centre, and it will just have your details on it. You will have to sign it and they will stamp and sign it if you have passed, and this is your only official document that you will have regarding this test. So you need to keep that safe. Once you have completed these 2 steps, having your English language exam or proof with your degree and the Life in a UK test, you can begin to fill out the application form. Now, when I started the whole process, I did the physical form as the online form wasn't readily available just yet. So this was very much confusing, so I would definitely recommend going on the government's website and starting the process there. Now, the minimal requirement to have this application, to be able to send this in and to apply for British citizenship, is having lived in the UK for 5 years. The only discretion to this is if you have married to a British citizen. That means you only have to prove 3 years. So that's the only difference. You don't have a marital right or family right. You will still have to go through the same process with the language exam and the Life in the UK test, as far as I understood the process, and I have been going at this process for quite some years, so that's what I understood. So for someone like me who has lived in the UK for 14 years, I only had to show 5 years to the day that I was gonna put my application in through. So I had to make sure, and this is very key, that, for example, I sent my application in, I believe, on the 23rd of September, and I had to make sure that on the 23rd of September I had to be in the country 5 years prior to that. So in on the 23rd of September 2014, I had to make sure that I was in the UK, so I couldn't be on holiday. A lot of people may be familiar with this little blue card. This little blue card essentially states that you are a permanent resident in the UK. However, this does not qualify you for British citizenship. I understand that the process for this was similar to the citizenship application, where you had to show proof of residence for the past 5 years. However, this only counts for that 5 years. You can't apply for a British citizenship as soon as you receive this. You must have held a permanent residence status in the UK for at least 12 months before you apply. So this, you can't do it immediately, and you can't use the same 5 years worth of documents. You have to do it 12 months after, and from that date, dating back to 5 years. I mean, if you have it all together, great, you can use the past 4 years. However, you have to add some more documents to it. Whereas for that blue document, they accepted things such as bank statements as proof of residence. For British citizenship, they do not. They need official letters from professional bodies to say that you live in this country. I was very fortunate because I've been in education ever since I've lived here, so I only had to ask for 2 letters, one from my secondary school and one from my university. The 2 letters to contain details of my admission and having studied at both schools full-time, stating my name and my date of birth, and obviously officially stamped and signed by the school, which obviously confirmed a big chunk, if not all, of my residency in the UK. So my university counted for 4 years, and the letter from my secondary school made up that 1 extra year that I was missing, as I didn't take any gaps. Now, going on to the process, so the reason why I'm pushing everyone to apply online is because it's very user friendly. There are no confusions. It's a yes no kind of tiki box situation, that if you fill it out correctly and tick it correctly that's relevant to your current situation, it will skip sections that are not relevant to you, whereas the paper section is not quite so clear and you may fill out and waste time with sections that are not relevant to you. So when you start to fill it out, you can log back out and log back in whenever you want, as often as you want, and there is no sort of time limit to get this application completed, which is very, very good, because when I thought I was ready to fill everything out, there was little hiccups in the road. I had missing information, and I had to pause, go away, collect that information and then log back in and then fill that out. So all in all, I think it took me a couple days to get it all together, given I already had the folder's worth of information. When you complete the application, you get a little checklist, which helps. You don't have to print this out. I print it out for my own good. I do love physical copies. I am a big fan of, doing everything online and paperless, but given how important this was, I needed a physical copy just in case something technologically went wrong. However, the paperless option is amazing. So it asks for evidence when you have filled out the actual document part of it all. It asks for my Hungarian passport. It asks for my UK life in a UK test. I needed proof of living. So proof of living includes things like letters from your employer, letters from your school, letters from professional bodies that can confirm from date to date that you have obviously been there full time, letters from landlords, agencies of your tenancy, things like that. But it can't be bills and bank statements. It has to be professional letters, which I found very surprising. It was a little bit more difficult to get given some time frames that I had, but obviously it was all right in the end. A degree certificate to prove the level of English language required. So in this case, because I've had my degree certificate come through by the time I submitted this, they asked for a copy of my degree certificate. Next, you have to get 2 referees, which I will explain once we get to the referee section. You have to have evidence of identity and proof of nationality. So I still have my Hungarian nationality card, which is my Hungarian ID, which I sent off as well. I also, I think, sent off my UK driver's license. So any other forms of professional documents that, you know, that can prove that you are the person, and your name and date of birth and things like that all match. Another thing to add to proof of living is your permanent residency card. So that is also something that you can add, but you still need letters as well, which you would have thought you would be past that, but no, like the more information you have, the stronger your case is, and it's easier to obviously get it processed. So to run through the actual process, I have the whole application printed out, but obviously I don't want to flash it onto screen because it does have my personal details on there. So just to run through it, I asked for obviously your name, your passport number, country of nationality, and date of application. So actually, oh, that's really strange. I actually applied on the sent off my actual application on the 25th of September. Type of application, so obviously applying for naturalisation as a British citizen. So citizenship is called naturalisation, but it's not a citizenship application, it's a application for naturalisation, which gives you a naturalisation certificate, and then with that certificate you can apply for a British passport. So it's not as straightforward, and you don't get given a passport straight away. That is a completely different process and a completely different cost for it all. So from the outset, the actual application itself is £1,330 as of December 2019. And I can't speak if this amount is going to change, but all in all, so the actual application itself is £1,330, which includes your ceremony as well, and your document processing, so your evidence processing, and then obviously £50 for the Life in a UK test, and £250 for the English language test if you don't have a degree in English. So the application proceeds to ask for personal information such as an email address, you know, who does this belong to, are you currently in the UK, do you have an immigration advisor, so some people might hire immigration advisors if their case is a little bit more complicated, or if they have more people applying at the same time, or if it's a visa or asylum seeking situation where obviously you need representation. However, you don't necessarily need representation if you're confident in filling this out yourself, which I felt like it was a very straightforward process given the online application process. I felt absolutely fine doing it by myself. I didn't feel like I needed to, I couldn't actually afford to hire an advisor who could help me with the process. You can always phone Home Office to ask if you don't understand something or you need clarification on a question, which I did, and they were very, very helpful in getting me the answers that I needed to progress with my application. Then obviously it asks for further personal information, your title or your given name, so you need to include your middle names if it does show on your passport. One thing that I really need to stress is that everything has to be according to your passport. I really tried to request to have it done as my UK driver's license, only because my UK signature differs from my Hungarian signature, because obviously the names are swapped around, and I never really developed a Hungarian signature because my signature has been continuing on since my childhood. You have to keep your signature the same, and I don't feel like my signature in Hungary represents my actual signature, but never mind. You have to provide information as it is. And then in this application, you can also include other family members if you're all applying at the same time. So it will ask you, is there any additional people that would like to apply? And then it's all a yes and no ticky box, so it's quite straightforward. And then it asked, do you want to attend a ceremony at different council? I said no, I'm happy to, do it in my local county, which is Hertfordshire. Have you passed the Life in the UK test? Yes. It hasn't actually asked for the serial number, it's just a yes and no question. Did you meet the knowledge of English language requirements as part of an indefinite leave application made on or after the 28th of October 2013? So given that date, I think that's when requirements for the citizenship must have changed. But I also ticked yes because obviously I have my degree and I have also done the English language test. It asks for a postal address, is this where you live? When did you start living there? It asks for your gender on your passport, your relationship status. Then it goes to nationality details, country of nationality, country of birth, place of birth, date of birth, do you have a valid passport, your passport number, who issued it, which will be mentioned on your passport, so it will say authority or issued from or in or things like that. So mine was the Hungarian Home Office. The issue date, the expiry date. Can you provide the passport if required? So can you send your passport in? I said yes, obviously. Do you have a valid nationality card? Nationality cards are quite common in European countries. So I have one, and I said, of course, you know, if that's what the process requires, I'm happy to send it in. They asked for my national identity card number, again, the issuing authority, issue date, expiry date. Do you currently hold or have ever held any other nationality or citizenship? No, and I'm not planning on having any more nationalities or citizenships. I think this completes my character and me as a person. Have you lived at your current address for 5 years? So I had to tick no because we recently moved to this address. So then you had to put in the date you lived from to. Then you had to provide your previous addresses for the past 5 years. So I have lived at 2 different addresses, and one thing that I had to make you aware is I forgot if I had to put in my term time address. So I actually lived at university during term time, and I panicked once I realised that I didn't live at home full time, but I didn't live at university full time, but it was still a registered address for me. So what I did, which was a very convenient and flexible process, is that they just said, if I have missed out any information, like I have with my university term time addresses, it's just to write a cover letter explaining the additional details that I need to add, and add it to the application. I added in my home addresses, and then I made a cover letter for my term time addresses to explain I've left it out. Are you either an EEA national who has been issued with a permanent residency document, a family member of an EEA national who has been issued with a permanent residence document? I said yes, because I have my own residency document, permanent residency document. What will you use to apply for British citizenship? So I think this was a scroll down option. I obviously said my permanent residence card or document, because I forgot what the other options were, but obviously I have the document, so that was most relevant. I had to enter those card details, my national insurance number, telephone number, if I have any children, which I don't. Am I completing this on behalf of someone else? No. Then I had to include my parents' details, so I put in my dad's details, my mum's details, and then trips outside the UK. So one good trick that I had for this is getting a piece of paper, scrolling through my emails, my flight accounts and Facebook, which helped me identify the types of holidays I went on for the past 5 years and helped me track down the dates. And like I said, if the holiday has been longer than 2 days, you had to include it in this list. You had to write the country visited, reasons for the trip, departure date, return date, and it calculated the full days of absence. And whilst you're filling this out, it also lets you know what the total number of absences you can have that's allowed, because if you go above those dates, you wouldn't be deemed as a full-time resident according to their policies. So and then other history, it asks you a series of questions such as, in peace or wartime, have you ever been involved in or suspected in an involvement of war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide? And it's just yes and no ticky boxes throughout the time. Have you ever been involved or supported and encouraged terrorist activities in any country? Have you ever been a member of or given support to an organisation which has been concerned in terrorism? Have you by any means or medium expressed views that justify or glorify terrorist violence or that may encourage others to commit terrorist or other serious criminal acts? So of course all of them are no. It's questions they have to ask, but it is quite lengthy questioning, which I do understand. Then it goes to residency requirements. Do you meet these residency requirements? I ticked yes. As I have lived in the UK for 5 years, I did question that, to be honest. I was like, I don't know, do I? Like, why are you asking me if I meet the requirements? But obviously I ticked yes because I have been living in the UK for 5 years. I have passed the required tests and stuff. So are there any reasons why you cannot meet the requirements to become a British citizen? For example, you have had too many absences from the UK, and I said no because I was way below the required absences. If you do not meet the statutory requirements to become a British citizen, are there any special circumstances why you think the Home Secretary should still grant your application? So, for example, if you have had too many absences and you press yes in that option, it will give you a little blank box for you to write the reason why they should still consider you. So, I don't know what the special circumstances could be, but obviously each to their own, and I'm sure it's at the Home Secretary's discretion to approve or disapprove. Do you plan for your main home to be in the UK if your application is successful? Of course I said yes. I've been studying here, I've been living here for 14 years. I can say I grew up here. I consider my way of life very British. I work here. I don't plan on working anywhere else. I don't plan on moving anywhere else. So I'm building my own life here, and hopefully it continues to be that way. Previous relationships. Have you previously been married or in a civil partnership? I said no. Referee details. Now, referees are very important. You have to have 2 people who you have known for less than 3 years, who are one of the referees, and these requirements, 2 of them, are very, very specific. So one person has to be a British citizen and over the age of 25. The second person has to be a member of a professional body. So they gave examples such as like accountants, doctors, lawyers, civil service, and could be of any nationality. So in this case, it's very difficult because having grew up in the UK and I'm under 25 myself, it's really difficult to find those friends, to find those people who you've known for less than 3 years, but are of those criterias. And I was very, very lucky to have met my boyfriend at university, who I would have been dating for 3 years come January. So obviously I have known his family for less than 3 years, and his stepdad is part of the police and his grandma is part of the works for the NHS, and they have kindly accepted to obviously be my referees. Now referees are just people who will confirm your person and character. So they have to fill out a form. They have to fill out a form which you can print out after the application is submitted, but this will also be emailed to you. Referees and identity. So one mistake that I made is that you need a passport photo of yourself. So it says here, requirements for a referee. Each referee should know the applicant personally. Where the applicant is a child, one referee should be a professional who has engaged with the child in a professional capacity such as a teacher, health visitor, social worker, minister of religion. For an adult application, one referee should be a person of any nationality who has professional standing, minister of religion, civil servant, or a member of a professional body such as accountant or solicitor who is not representing you in this application. For all applications, the second referee must normally be a holder of a British citizen passport and either a professional person or over the age of 25. Then it has some exclusions. So the referee must not be a relative, not be a solicitor or agent representing you in this application, not to be related to the other referee, not be employed by the Home Office, not have been convicted of an imprisonable offence during the last 10 years, have known the applicant personally, be willing to give full details of their knowledge of the applicant, advise the Home Office of any reason why the applicant should not be registered, and then they have to sign a declaration which is at the bottom of the sheet. So it says, I declare and confirm that I am qualified to act as a referee, that the photograph above is a true likeness of the applicant, that I understand each of the points in the requirements of a referee section, that to the best of my knowledge the details of the applicant given in the application are correct, that my details as a referee given in the application are correct, that I understand that I could be fined up to £5,000 or go to prison for up to 3 months if I knowingly give false information. So it's very serious. So yeah, this is really important to pick the correct people for this, as they do have to provide a bit of information and they may be contacted to obviously give further information about yourself. So the details you would need for a referee is obviously their full name, gender, date of birth, address. Have they lived at the address for more than 3 years? If not, you're going to have to provide further details. What is their phone number, email address, profession? Do they hold a British passport, their passport number? And how are they related to you? So you have to do this twice for both. Next is the employment section. You have to give details of your employment going back to the last 5 years, but obviously if you have not worked throughout those 5 years, that is absolutely fine. And then you have to give further details. Are you currently employed? Have you had any other work over the past 10 years or since you came to the UK? And then next is convictions and other penalties. So this is another yes and no questionnaire, just like the one about where they ask you about like terrorism, and this is more like about committing a crime. Then immigration details. Have you made any previous UK immigration applications in the UK or abroad? Obviously no. Do you have any other details that you would like to be considered regarding this applicant and their application to be registered as a British citizen? So I ticked yes, because then what it does, it opens up a blank box and it said give other details to be considered. So here I have written like a very short description of myself. I have said I have been in the UK since the age of 9, 13 years in October. I've completed my SATs, GCSEs, A-levels and a degree of Bachelor of Laws with an upper second class in the UK. I would like to complete my Masters and pursue Korean law, meanwhile settle down, buy my first home. I grew up in the UK, made a life in the UK. I don't intend to live my life anywhere else. I would like to become a permanent member of the British Society. Which is a bit cringe, but obviously I just felt like I needed that one little push. If there are any doubts with my application, as just a little bit more personal about myself as to why this is important to me and why I think they should approve it. And then last bit but no means least, English language. Do you have a degree that was taught in English? I said yes. Country of your degree was taught in, obviously UK. What will you use to prove your degree taught in English? My degree certificate. Biometric residence permit. I did not have a biometric residence permit. I'm not quite familiar with what they are. I understand they're a little PIN card, but I don't think EU citizens require this, a BRP as they're called. So I don't have one, but even if you do have one and then your citizenship gets approved, you have to dispose of it. So I'm guessing this is a similar thing to a permanent residency card. And then documents, so you have to provide documents. As I said in the beginning, it asks for my passport, my life in a UK test pass notification, proof of living in the UK, degree certificate, my 2 referees, evidence of identity and proof of nationality. And then the next and no means least, the payment. So I paid £1,349.20, and you have to do this once everything is completed. Before you pay, you have to make sure and triple check all the details are correct, because once you have paid and the declaration is signed that obviously all the details you've provided are correct, you will not be able to go back and amend. The only thing you'll be able to do is perhaps attach cover letters for missing information or incorrect information, but it may interfere with how your application is processed. So before you go ahead, triple check. I even had other people reading my application over for me to make sure that everything is correct and it sounds correct, and it's 100%, because it's a big amount that you may not get back if it's incorrect. I understand they take a admin fee if it is incorrect and it is rejected, so obviously you don't want to lose any money, and it is a huge lump sum. So this includes your ceremony as well. So once you pay that, they will ask you to book an appointment to have your evidence checked. And by that, it is an online service to have all your documents checked over, which you should have scanned 48 hours before you go for your appointment. There they take your passport photo, your signature, which has to be the same as the one on your passport, and your fingerprints, all 10 fingers. Once that is done and they have checked that you have attached the scanned documents to all of the headings from the documents, from the evidence that they've requested, they will officially send your application through. Now, if you have missed any documents or they think something is incorrect or missing, they can extend that until 10 p.m. the same day, but you will have to have that document scanned in and uploaded to that portal until 10 p.m. As at 10 p.m, the application will automatically be sent to the Home Office to be reviewed. So I booked my application for the document check to be in Croydon, only because that was the nearest appointment. So you can only book, I believe, 45 days ahead, and you will receive a QR code which will have your details and your time for the day, and you will take your QR code if you want your physical documents, just to double check that they've got everything correct. But they don't actually scan anything there. That's a separate service they offer. They offer numerous different services, but this one, if you have opted for the scan your own document system, it's very easy. Like I've got my little folders, I had all the documents in there, and then I scanned in everything myself, uploaded it into different headings, double checked it, and on the day all I had to do was take my photo, sign electronically, take my fingerprints. The lady checked over that all the documents are right, that my photos passport approved, and just click send, and there it was, and I just had to wait. So bearing in mind, I sent off my online application on the 25th of September, and then I opted to choose to have my evidence check appointment for the 21st of October, because I still had professional letters to get from my university, and I just wanted to make sure that I have all the documents, such as the referee declaration signed and things like that. So I wanted to give myself as much time as possible. I had my electronic application sent off on the government's website on the 25th of September. I had my evidence checking appointment on the 21st of October. And then in a little brown envelope on a Saturday afternoon, I received my letter, which has just said, "I am pleased to tell you that this application for British citizenship has been approved." And it just basically had further details, and it says, "To complete the process of becoming a British citizen, you will need to attend a British citizenship ceremony." Now, about the ceremony. So you can book a date. Basically, you have to call up your local council, where their contact details will be on your letter, and you have to book in for a ceremony. Now, for Hertfordshire, apparently it's every Monday. They have a morning session and they have an afternoon session. I opted in for a morning session given my work schedule, so I can get this done as soon as possible, as I'm not sure what the follow-up was afterwards. And at the ceremony, you have to stand up, and given your choice, you get a choice to say the oath of allegiance or affirmation of allegiance, and then you have to pledge. Now, you can choose to have a group ceremony or a private individual ceremony. Now, the group ceremony, you're just with other people who have gone through the same process and are now in the finals of receiving and confirming the citizenship. Or privately, you would have to pay a little bit extra, and then it's just you and whoever you want to invite. I wasn't really fussed, I just wanted to get this over and done with, so I opted for a group one. You can bring up to 2 guests on the day, so you would have to confirm how many guests you're bringing. Do you intend to make the oath or an affirmation? and then you have to confirm if you're happy to shake the hands of the person who you're receiving your certificate from, and you have to keep your invitation letter safe, as this is what you need to bring with you to confirm. Now, the oath of allegiance is you have to swear by the Almighty God, whereas the affirmation of allegiance, you solemnly and sincerely and truly declare and affirm. But the one I chose to go for was the oath, and the way it is that you get grouped into two. People who do the oath are on one side of the room, and then people who affirm are on the other side. And then you stand up and then say, I, and then your name, swear by Almighty God that on becoming a British citizen, I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors according to the law. Then you follow it up by a pledge. I will give my loyalty to the United Kingdom and respect its rights and freedoms. I will uphold its democratic values. I will observe its laws faithfully and fulfil my duties and obligations as a British citizen. And then once that's done and we get called up to receive our certificates, which is this one, it's a very important piece of paper, and this is your certificate of citizenship. Once that is received and everyone has had their certificates handed over, everyone sings the national anthem. And then that concludes the ceremony, everyone gets a cup of tea and biscuit, and you're a British citizen. So that's my story and journey and my process of becoming a British citizen. I just wanted to clarify the details and help anyone else who would like to become one, as I'm aware that with Brexit in the air, more and more people are stressed about their future status in the country. I mean, there were people there who have lived in the UK for way longer than I have, but never really bothered to apply for a citizenship given its cost. They couldn't afford it, or didn't think it was necessary given the freedom to move around the EU. But now more and more people are applying for the citizenship just to confirm their residency and to be able to continue in this country. Now, mine wasn't driven by Brexit, as I said. It has been a long, long awaited dream. Mine was more about figuring out the process and being able to afford it myself, because it is a lot of money. It isn't a simple process. Obviously I had to travel down to Croydon, to Holborn, to Hatfield to bring it all together, and there was a lot of things that gone into it that just needed a lot of time and attention, and obviously this isn't something that you can just whip up. It's not an essay, it's something very, very serious and holds a lot of weight. So yeah, as of the 25th of November, I officially became a British citizen. So in the space of 2 months, my application was processed and fully completed. Now, they do say it can take up to 6 months to even get an answer, and given the time frame, and I think it just made things easier that I was still in education, that I didn't have to do so much searching and to fill in the gaps that were missing, as they have to do with some other people. And because I've been here since such a young age, there isn't anything confusing about my route and my residency, as I have been a student here. So I think that helped my situation. But yeah, and just for your information, I have not dropped my Hungarian nationality. It means now I'm a dual citizen. It means I have 2 nationalities. I'm a citizen of 2 countries, and I hold both rights equally in both countries. So unless some countries, which you need to check, that if you choose to become a citizen in one country, you might have to give up your other one. But that is totally up to the countries that you're applying for and is a national of. So that I also had to do my homework on to see if Hungary lets you be a dual citizen, and if the UK lets you be a dual citizen, because it goes both ways. So yeah, that's my process. I am now a British citizen, and I am very much permanent in the UK. And yeah, I guess the next stop is getting a passport, but then I think for that I'll wait until Brexit, because that's another couple £100 to process. And I understand people are aware of getting a passport is, I don't know, like £70 to get it renewed, something like that. Don't quote me on the price, but I know it's not hundreds of pounds. However, getting your first initial passport and requesting a new passport is at least, I believe, £400. So all in all, if I was to get a passport and have this process completed, it will be just under £2,000. And it is a very expensive process, but it has been a lifelong dream that I've been working towards and saving towards. And I can truly and honestly say I made it come true myself with no one's help. I have kept it a secret until everything was processed, until I had it like physically in my hand. On the day of the ceremony, you can get a photo done. Everyone gets their photo taken, and you can request to buy the photo. And I think it'll be a really nice memory for me to keep. So yeah, you've got the photo of the Queen, the British flag, Hertfordshire County Council's flag. So yeah, and then me and my certificate. So yeah, that's my story. I hope this has helped anyone else who is looking to become a British citizen or is in the process and is confused about the steps or what it requires. But if you are an EU citizen in a similar boat to me, and you have obviously lived in the UK for 5 years, then I don't see a complication with the whole process. If you're an EU citizen like I am, and obviously you've been living in the UK for quite some time now, at least 5 years, and obviously you're considering to go through this process, I can only recommend it. It was a little bit stressful and expensive, but it is very much worth it. And once you obviously have it, it was such a relief that I don't have to think about this anymore. Whatever Brexit may bring, if it ever brings anything, I know that I'm 100% settled here, as I don't think I could move back to Hungary or start a life again in another country or another place, because I've moved around so much in my younger life that I just want to just settle now and just stay in one place. And I think because I've spent my life growing up here, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So having this, I think, it has made me whole. So yeah, I'll pop the links down below for useful information, and if you have any questions, just ask away. I'll be happy to answer.